Lil Scrappy's cry for redemption, begging Bambi to come back. Lil Scrappy, a well-known name in the world of hip-hop, is no stranger to the struggles of love, life, and heartbreak. His story has unfolded in front of millions on reality TV shows, and his personal battles have often been laid bare for public consumption. But amidst the fame, fortune, and music, there lies a deeper and more raw story, one of a man who is grappling with the loss of the woman he loves. In this narrative, we find Lil Scrappy at a vulnerable crossroad, faced with the consequences of his past actions and the desperate hope that the love of his life, Bambi, will give him another chance. The relationship between Scrappy and Bambi has had its ups and downs, marked by tension, arguments, and of course, love. But when the cracks in their bond became too deep to ignore, Bambi walked away, leaving Scrappy heartbroken and remorseful. This is the story of how Lil Scrappy, drowning in regret, attempts to win Bambi back and prove that he's a changed man, a man worthy of her love. The history of Scrappy and Bambi's relationship. Lil Scrappy and Bambi's relationship has been a roller coaster ride of emotions, a blend of passionate love and painful disagreements. The couple first met in the early years of their careers, and while their chemistry was undeniable, they were also individuals with complex pasts. Scrappy had been involved in several relationships before Bambi, some of which were marred by infidelity, misunderstandings, and emotional turmoil. For Bambi, Scrappy represented a man who had already lived a life full of mistakes and missteps. She saw potential in him, but also understood the baggage that came with being involved with someone who had been so publicly scrutinized. But despite the drama that often surrounded their relationship, Bambi loved him deeply. She stood by his side through thick and thin, always offering a balance to his chaotic life. However, love alone couldn't always overcome the hurdles they faced. Bambi was no stranger to heartbreak herself. She had experienced the pain of betrayal in previous relationships, and wasn't willing to tolerate the same mistakes twice. Over time, Scrappy's repeated mistakes, both in love and in life, started to wear on her patience. The cracks that formed between them were deep, and no amount of apologies or promises could heal them. Eventually, Bambi made the difficult decision to leave. She walked away emotionally exhausted and convinced that Scrappy might never change. This left Scrappy devastated. His world, which had once revolved around his family, his career, and his relationship with Bambi, suddenly felt empty. He tried to move on, but it was clear that his heart was still tethered to the woman he loved. Scrappy's desperation. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Scrappy couldn't shake the haunting realization that Bambi was gone, and this time, it felt permanent. The lavish parties, the music, the fame, none of it could fill the void she had left in his life. He tried to keep busy with his work, but the loneliness that followed him at every turn became unbearable. Late at night, as he sat in his studio, or lay in his bed, Scrappy's thoughts would inevitably drift back to Bambi. He thought of her laughter, the way she made him feel like he could be a better man, and the warmth of her embrace. He missed her. More than that, he regretted everything that led to their separation. "I messed up, Bambi," he whispered to himself on those lonely nights. "I messed up so bad." The guilt weighed heavily on him. He knew that he had made mistakes that led to her walking out. There were times when his ego and stubbornness had taken the lead, and he had been blinded by pride. He had hurt her more times than he cared to admit. But now, with the painful reality of her absence, Scrappy understood what was at stake: his future, his happiness, and his love. He had lost Bambi, and he needed her back. The cry for redemption. One day, after reflecting deeply on his life and the lessons he had learned from the mistakes he had made, Scrappy made a decision. He was going to fight for Bambi. He couldn't let her slip away without a final attempt to redeem himself. This wasn't about his pride or his ego anymore. It was about love, true love, and the fear that he might never get another chance. He reached out to mutual friends, asking for advice on how to approach the situation. He even spoke to his mother, who had witnessed the ups and downs of his relationship with Bambi. She had always been supportive of their love, but even she could see that Scrappy needed to prove that he had changed. One evening, Scrappy sat down with a pen and paper and began to write. He poured his heart out on the page, expressing everything he had kept bottled up inside. He wrote about how deeply he loved Bambi, how much he regretted his actions, and how he had learned from his past mistakes. As he wrote, the tears began to flow. He wasn't just crying over the loss of Bambi, he was crying over the man he used to be, the man who had let his insecurities and pride get in the way of the most important relationship of his life. "I've been a fool, Bambi," he wrote. But I'm not that man anymore, I've changed. I want to be the man you deserve. Please, come back, let me prove that I can be the one you can rely on, the one who will never let you down. When he finished the letter, Scrappy didn't know what would come of it. But he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't just sit back and hope that things would magically get better. He had to take action. A heartfelt plea. Scrappy knew that a letter alone wouldn't be enough. He needed to show Bambi that he was serious about making amends, so he planned a surprise. He reached out to Bambi's closest friends, asking them for a favor. He wanted to set up a moment where he could pour his heart out to her in person. No cameras, no distractions, just the two of them, one last chance to fix what was broken. On the day of the meeting, Scrappy showed up with flowers in hand, his heart racing in his chest. His palms were sweaty, his nerves palpable. He had no idea how Bambi would react, whether she would listen, whether she would even want to hear what he had to say. But he was prepared for whatever outcome. He just had to tell her the truth. When Bambi arrived, Scrappy stood up, his eyes red from the nights of sleeplessness and tears. He held the flowers out to her, his voice cracking as he spoke. "Bambi, I know I've hurt you. I've hurt you more than anyone else ever could, and I'm sorry. I've spent every day since you left trying to make sense of everything I've done wrong, trying to fix the parts of myself that I know aren't good enough. But the one thing I can't fix is losing you. You're everything to me, you always have been." Bambi stood still, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Scrappy took a step closer, his voice now trembling with raw emotion. "I need you, Bambi. I can't live without you. I know I can't change the past, but I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make sure you never doubt my love for you again. I don't care if it takes a lifetime to earn your trust back. I'm willing to do that. Please come back. I can't be the man I'm meant to be without you by my side." There was a long pause. Scrappy's heart felt like it was going to explode, and every second of silence felt like an eternity. Finally, Bambi spoke. "I don't know, Scrappy," she said quietly. "I've been hurt too many times. I need to see if you really mean what you're saying." Scrappy nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He was asking for a second chance, and he knew that she had every right to be cautious. "I get it," he said, his voice soft. "But I'm here, and I'll keep showing you that I'm different. You deserve more than I've given you, and I'm ready to be the man you deserve." The path forward. The next few weeks were filled with conversations, apologies, and moments of vulnerability. Scrappy didn't rush Bambi, understanding that rebuilding trust would take time. He continued to prove his commitment through his actions, showing her that his words were more than just empty promises. Bambi, though guarded, began to soften. She saw the effort Scrappy was putting in, and she couldn't deny the love that still existed between them. Slowly, she allowed herself to believe in the possibility of reconciliation. It wasn't easy, but in time, Scrappy and Bambi began to rebuild their relationship. They faced challenges, of course, but the foundation of love and trust they had once built began to grow stronger. Scrappy learned the value of humility, patience, and, most importantly, the power of vulnerability. In the end, their love story wasn't about perfection, it was about redemption. Scrappy had begged for a second chance, and through his tears and heartfelt plea, he had shown Bambi that he was truly a changed man. Together, they moved forward, stronger and more united than ever. And though their journey wasn't over, Scrappy knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, he had found his way back to the woman he loved, and that was worth everything.